Hello Marcel, my name is Ling. Today I'm going to talk about my innovation. The title of my presentation is Using WebQuest as an pedagogical tool in EFL reading classes. So this is the plan I'm going to go through in my presentation today. Now in my presentation I'm going to go through the four sections as you can see on the screen: introduction, literature review, methodology, method, data analysis, some ethical consideration, potential problem solutions, and conclusion and some references. Now let's move on to the first part of my presentation today, in which I'm going to talk about the rationale for my research. Now the broader context of my teaching experience is the Vietnamese context of the Vietnamese EFL context. As you can see, the reading classes in Vietnam EFL context is characterized by teacher-centeredness. That means teacher is the sole purveyor of knowledge, and the students, they often have to listen to the teacher, and they have no active role in the class. So that's why reading classes in Vietnam is often characterized by boredom and a lack of communication between teachers and students. Regarding my specific teaching context, reading classes in my own teaching context is characterized by the low motivation on the part of the learners. They are reported to have very low motivation. They don't really want to read outside the classrooms. And also there is little communication between the teachers and the learners, and the learners don't have a lot of opportunities to assimilate the knowledge they learn. So normally they just stop at doing comprehension exercises, and then they have no other opportunities to really possess and also acquire the language that they have learned in the class. So those are the motivation and impetuses behind my introduction, my intention to carry out the innovation of using WebQuest to help my EFL learners increase their reading comprehension and motivation. My research question is: how do the students perceive the impact of WebQuest on their reading comprehension and motivation? I'm going to explain what WebQuests are later on, but for now I'm going to talk about some potential benefits that I think my innovation will bring about to my learners and also to teachers like me. The first benefit I think it's going to bring about is a reinforcement of students' reading comprehension. This benefit derives from the fact that the students, they are going to be able to read a lot and also to read extensively outside the textbook. So they are going to be able to acquire a broader base of vocabulary, and with that base of vocabulary, I expect that their reading comprehension level will be on the rise. The next benefit that innovation is going to promise is an increase and a sustained motivation for reading. This is because the innovation is going to expose the learners to a lot of authentic online resources, and also the innovation is going to give their choices over what they should read and can read. And regarding the teaching practices, I think the potential benefit of this research is going to bring about is going to add more dimension to my reading classes, because through WebQuest the students can engage in different typologies of tasks. They are going to be engaged in group work, collaborative work, and also there will be opportunities for them to do presentations in front of others. So this is an example of a WebQuest, what a WebQuest looks like. So a typical WebQuest would comprise of 5 stages like this. In the first stage is the introduction. This is where the basic information about what the students are going to do is included. Second, the test. This is where the student know about what they have to go through, what do they have to accomplish throughout the whole webcast. The next is the process. This is where links to online resources will be embedded, and after the process is done, the student will go to evaluation stage. This is where they have the opportunity to reflect on the whole process that they have been through, and finally the conclusion brings the whole webcast to an end. Now let's move on to talk about the literature. The webcast, since the introduction of the internet, a lot of research has been conducted on the potential of using the affordances of the internet in EFL context, and webcast is among those affordances. Now, according to some articles and some literature, webcast has the theoretical frameworks which derives from several approaches to language learning. For example, according to Watson 1999, as cited in Liu 2011, webcast resembles the inquiry-based approach in which the students are exposed to a problem, and what they have to do is they have to find the solutions to the problem, and they are going to be given instruction, and the whole process of discovering knowledge will be guided and scaffolded carefully by the teachers. And also Liu 2011 also pointed out the correlation between webcast and content-based approach, in which he argued that webcast resembles content-based approach, in that webcast expose the students to authentic materials about a specific topic. So by doing that, the students are going to be able to have more motivation, because they feel that they are trying to solve a real problem with a very authentic purpose. And also Liu 2011 also pointed out that webcast also is similar to project-based learning, because the nature of a webcast is to solve problem and to do that together in collaboration. The benefits of using webcast in EFL classroom have been well documented. According to early 2015, using webcast in EFL language classes is conducive to self-discovery of knowledge. This is because webcast allow the students to embark on a self-discovery of knowledge, and also there is an increased motivation on the part of the learner when they are exposed to webcast, and also webcast is conducive to communicative and collaborative teaching. According to early 2015, the teachers liked webcast because they added some more dynamism to their teaching practices. Next, I would like to talk about the research plan, what I am going to do with my intervention. I am going to introduce the innovation to my current reading class, where I have a total number of participants, 28 first-year students. They are non-majored, and they are currently at A2 level. One more characteristics of my participants in the research is they have reasonable computer literacy skills. Now, this is a very important aspect, because in order for a webcast to really take effect and have desired effect in classroom, the students need to be able to use computer and also have basic internet searching skills. The context where I'm going to implement the innovation is a public higher education institution. the outstanding feature of this institution is that it's trying to shift towards student-centeredness, and also because of this, all the classrooms at the institution are equipped with some certain kinds of technology like projector, and also the internet connection is widely available throughout the campus. However, at the moment, although the policy is there and in place, a lot of teachers at the institution are having problems and struggling to manifest the shift. They don't really know how to make the policy work and how to make concrete changes in their own teaching practices. And this is what I am going to act. I am going to implement innovation within the duration of 8 weeks out of the 15 weeks that the whole semester lasts. I have 1 reading class per week, and each class would last for 2 sessions, 45 minutes each. That means every week I have 90 minutes implementing innovation. And topics that I am going to assign for the webcast related to the topics prescribed in the book. The current book used for the reading class is Active Reading 2, and there are some and the book touches on some very common academic topics such as traveling, exams, or intelligences. In the next part, I'm going to talk about the worldview, and also I'm going to talk about how I am going to conduct the research on the innovation. The worldview I adopt for this research is qualitative research. The reason why I choose this worldview is it allows me to be part of the environment, part of the setting. Now this is very important because I am trying to improve my teaching practice. So adopting this worldview allows me to look at the innovation from the point of view and perspective of an insider. And also, according to Danzin and Lincoln, qualitative research attempts to make sense or interpret phenomena in terms of the meaning people bring to them. So, although the literature on using webquest in EFL context is quite extensive and also intensive, I still think adopting this worldview allows me to add to the current literature because I am going to be able to look at how the innovation works in my particular context. So if any insights arise out of it, I am going to be able to make generalization and add to the current body of literature. Regarding the methodology, I am going to use action research for my current research. Action research is characterized by the role of the researcher. In this kind of research, the researcher also takes on the role of the teacher, and also according to Burns 2011, action research is an iterative cycle comprising of 4 stages. The first one is planning, the second one is action, and the next one is observation, and finally reflection. And the interesting thing about this cycle is it can be repeated until you are satisfied with how the innovation works, and until you've come to the desired outcome. For collecting the data, I'm going to use qualitative methods like active observation and semi-structured interviews. According to the website that I consulted, active observation is the process in which you are actively trying to be part of the ongoing procedure and process in your classroom. So during active observation, you can take notes, and also you can ask questions, so that you can note questions down so that you can use the question for further investigation. Semi-structured interviews are interviews in which you have the opportunity to you don't have to follow a fixed plan. You can modify the plan you prepare by asking spontaneous questions to probe into different potentials. This allows you to be more flexible, and also to gain more insights into any particular issues that arise out of the interview. Regarding data analysis, for observation, I am going to use observation notes, and any data won't be recorded using the guideline adopted and adapted from Borison 2005. Regarding the interview, the process I am going to go through would be to audio record the interviews, and I'm going to transcribe the interview after that. And having transcribed the interview, I'm going to quote the information and the themes, and I'm going to interpret the themes so that I can identify the patterns. And using the two data analysis methods like this, I think I am going to be able to triangulate the information and data collected from the two data collection methods. Next, I would like to discuss some ethical issues that might arise out of my innovation. The very first issue that I think I need to think about is the consent from the participants. I need to make sure that their consent is non-compulsory. This is very important because if my students are forced into the research, I think they are going to give very biased, and also they can be forced to give false information against their will. And also, in order to make sure that they give reliable information to me, I am going to make sure my communication of the research purpose and procedure is transparent. There is another problem I need to address, that is the insider researcher issue, because I take on both role of a researcher and teacher, so there is a problem of coerced participation, and also the students, they feel the pressure to give the favorable information to me. So what I am going to do to go about that problem is I am going to make sure my recruitment of participants for the research is non-coercive, and also I'm going to make sure my treatment to them, regardless of their responses and information, will be impartial. And also there is a possibility of confidentiality. From the researcher's perspective, it's very important to keep the information about the participants anonymous. So anonymity should be prioritized. I'm going to use pseudonyms to assign to the interviewees, and also the data collected from the participants will be securely stored and disposed of. There are some problems I think I need to think ahead about. The very first one is time constraints. I have a very tight teaching schedule, so in case I cannot allocate enough time to design the webquest, I am going to adapt some fabricated webquest from reliable online resources such as this website, onestopenglish.com. And also there are some technical issues I need to address, because the success of my innovation also depends on how the students find the innovation in terms of technological ease. Because I'm going to look at the effect from a kind of teaching perspective, so I need to make sure that my students wouldn't have any problem regarding the process of carrying out the webquest. So in order to go about that side effect, I'm going to provide training and instruction on some technical aspects, and also I will be there whenever they require support and assistance. And also there might be a problem of lack of interest on the part of the students. As I said before, exposing students to authentic materials online can be a two-edged sword. On this hand, the students may feel very motivated because they have more choices, and also they can be motivated because they feel like using and also interacting with the materials in their own way. However, there is also a possibility that the instruction and also the materials may be too difficult for them. So what I need to do is I need to make sure I match the materials and also the difficulty level of the instruction with the language levels of my students, so that they don't have any problem accessing and also carrying out the web quest. So that's everything I want to talk about my intention with the innovation of using web quest in an EFL reading context. What I really want to see when I implement the innovation is an increase in my students' motivation to read, and also along the way I really want to see an improvement, a significant improvement in my students' comprehension ability. WebQuest is a kind of liberating reading model, and I really hope that by using this model in my EFL reading context, the shift towards student-centeredness will be successfully manifested. And these are some references that I have perused and also used for my investigation of the innovation. And that's it from me. Thank you very much.